So you're probably wondering, why on earth would I ever want to build this? Well, let me tell you. This structure in front of me is one of the most effective mob farm designs I have ever seen. Before we get too far into the video, I must warn you, this mob farm is not built for ease of build or minimum time consumption. It's hard to build. It's not that hard to build, but you do have to bring wardens up from the deep dark, so it will take a lot of time, and it's not the safest. I would say don't build this farm unless you're somewhat late game and already have access to an elytra. If you are at that point, let me show you around the farm. The way it works is quite simple. This box is completely dark on the inside and spawns pretty much every type of mob. However, the box also contains 4 wardens, which kill anything that has a scent or makes vibrations in the ground. Whether that be a spider, creeper, enderman, anything. So as soon as the mobs that spawn in this box move, they are killed by the wardens, and if they choose not to move, they will eventually be sniffed out. Once the mobs are killed, these 2 minecart hoppers down here go around, collect their items, and bring them into this storage system right here. It seems like a simple design, but it does take a while to make because of all the wardens involved. Before we get into how to build this farm, I just want to point out that this channel, at the time of recording this video, has literally 0 subscribers. So if you enjoy and would like to add to that count, that would be greatly appreciated. Who knows, maybe you can even be the first subscriber. Now let's get into building the farm. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do for this farm is find a deep dark biome. These typically spawn under mountain biomes or areas that are highly elevated. I recommend finding a bigger mountain because these are more likely to have bigger deep dark biomes. If you find a smaller deep dark biome, there is a decent chance that it will not have a Skulk Shrieker. Once you find a decent mountain, go down, and like I did here, there is a very high chance you will come across a deep dark biome. Now the next thing you'll need to do is find a naturally spawning Skulk Shrieker like I did here. I believe setting this off 4 times will cause a warden to spawn, so the first thing you're going to want to do is surround it with wool to prevent vibrations from hitting it. Once you've done this, you're going to want to dig up around the area of the Skulk Shrieker. If there are other Skulk Shriekers nearby, I recommend you break them or wall them off with wool as well. Not right on top of it, but nearby, start digging upward. I recommend digging up in this 2x2 pattern so that if gravel or lava starts coming down on top of you, you have a space you can move to. You have an extra block of space to help prevent it from killing you. Once you've made it to the surface, mark the area around where your Skulk Shrieker was. Now you'll want to start building up. I recommend building to about level 300, but feel free to build a little higher if you're on a taller mountain. I'm on a relatively short mountain, so this should be enough to prevent mobs from spawning on the ground. The first thing you're going to want to do for this process is build a 16x16 wool platform. So let's start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Now that you've done that, you're going to want to build 16 out in this direction. However, you're going to want to count this block as the first block. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Great. Now what you're going to want to do is fill this in. Once you've completed this process, you're going to want to come back over to this edge. Now you're going to want to come below this platform. Now make sure there's at least 2 blocks of space between this block and the bottom block you're about to place right here. This will allow us to move down here on this platform. Not counting this block, you're going to want to build across 16 blocks with wool. Pole you built up on, you're going to want to count in 8 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now this block and the block to the left of it, you're going to want to place 2 blocks in front of you on the bottom of the 16x16 platform. Now build out a little bit and place 2 chests. This is going to be the start of your storage system. Now come back up to the 16x16 platform you made and place 2 hoppers on top of that chest. Now on the left and right of these hoppers, you're going to want to place a pipeline of hoppers going into each other. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And this should, you're going to want to place 7 on each side, and this should take you to the edge of the platform. Now go to the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now perfect. Now comes one of the annoying parts of this build, the rail system. So to start the rail system, the first thing you're going to want to do is come to this end, and 1 block into the 16 by 16 platform, place a single rail. In front of that, place a power rail. Now place rails all the way down the platform until you have 2 blocks left. Place another power rail, and then place a rail right at the edge of the platform. Then come to the next column of blocks and place another rail, facing this direction. Now take another power rail and place it right next to the first power rail. Place multiple rails all the way down the line, and then place another power rail right next to this power rail, and place a rail next to that. Now these 2 rails may combine, but we don't want that. Break the rail to the left of the one you just placed and place a rail to the right of it. Now you can place this rail to the left of it back. You're going to want to avoid placing rails in this column of blocks, because what we're going to do is create a winding railway, which will eventually come out to here and then wind back around here, back to the start. Now continue. Power rail, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 normal rails, and then another power rail. Wind it around, power rail, 11 normal rails, power rail. Once you get to the end of the platform, the rail should be going toward the vacant column of blocks. If it's not, simply add another row of wool right here, so that the end of the railway is going into this vacant column. Perfect, now we have the basic layout of the railway done. Now we just need to readjust this line so it's going over the hoppers. First of all, we want the minecarts to have enough power to be able to make it over the hoppers. So just to ensure that happens, you're going to want to break this rail and replace it with a power rail. Now you'll want to place either a lever or a redstone torch on the side of this block to activate the power rail. We'll worry about activating the rest of these later. But for now, the first thing you're going to want to do to make sure the rails curve over the hoppers is this. Break this block, break this whole row of rails that we placed at the start, and build a snake-like curve pattern over the hoppers. You're going to want to crouch over the hoppers when you're placing rails on top of them. Because otherwise you'll just enter the hopper menu. Okay, so there's been a bit of a mix-up here. You're also going to want to break this rail before you finish the track. Place a rail here, and then place this rail back. And now you should have the fully completed minecart track. The last thing you need to do is surround the hoppers in wool. This is because when minecarts cross a rail that's on top of wool, they don't make sound. However, when they cross a rail that's on top of a hopper or any block that will produce vibrations, when you walk on top of it, they will create vibrations, and that will distract the wardens that are trying to kill the mobs in your farm. So simply surround the hoppers in wool then create 1 block up wall of wool to prevent any outside sounds from interfering with the farm, such as phantoms or other things going on outside. And now just place a wool roof on top. And now just place a wool roof over all of the hoppers. You can place 1 more row of wool right here. Occasionally a warden may still hear this and come over to it, but it will be very minimal, and this also will help stop the wardens from despawning. Without any scent or vibration stimulation, they will despawn. We'll get into another way to prevent this later, but for now, what you're going to want to do is come up here and, with a block of your choosing that is not wool, I'm going to use stone. Place the block of your choosing over each and every one. Once you've finished that, the next step is very simple. Starting here, you're going to want to build up a block. And you're going to want to build this whole row of blocks up a block. Now you're going to want to come one out and build along this wall. And you're going to want to build along this side, all the way out. And you're going to want to do the same all the way around. Now along this side you're going to want to build. Now once you've done that, you're going to want to build this up 2 more blocks. And you're going to want to use wool to prevent any outside disturbances from messing with the wardens. Disturbances such as phantoms, other players, things like that. The next part of this build is also pretty simple. Just add a roof. Cover the whole platform in wool. Once you're done adding a roof, this farm is officially somewhat functional. However, I highly recommend you light up the top. This is because at night, mobs will spawn up here, and the wardens won't be able to get to them. Once you're done with that, simply drop down here, place torches along here as well. You don't need to go overboard on the torches. I just did because I'm in creative mode and I have as many as I need. Now you're going to want to come down here with whatever method you need. I'm going to use water, but you can use anything. Once you're back down here, now come over here, and using water again, I highly recommend you use water for this, because this isn't something that's going to be easy to do with ladders. You're going to want to expand the storage system. So place water, and then break these few blocks. Now come down here. And you're going to want to place hoppers, make sure you're not drowning, and chests. Oh, you crap bag. And you're going to want to place at least 5 of these. Be sure to shift-click each time you go to place a block so that it actually places. I've placed a total of 8 chests. This should be enough. Once you're done, come back up to the top. Remove the water. If this happens, you may want to place it back. Okay, now remove the water. Come over here to this transportation method, whether it be ladders or water. I used ladders. But water is probably more effective, actually. And build down to the bottom of this new storage system. Once you're at the bottom, place whatever block you want here, and build a platform out to it. The reason you want the storage system to go so low is because you want to be far enough away from the farm that mobs can still spawn inside of it. This is because if the wardens go too long without having any vibratory or scent simulation, they will climb back into the ground and despawn. So you want to spend as little time as possible close enough to the farm where nothing can spawn. Down here, theoretically, stuff over there should still be able to spawn inside of the farm, and therefore the wardens will not despawn. So the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure you are directly up against the side of the farm. Now get your x and z coordinates. My x and z coordinates are -96 and -908. Now go back to the ground. Now make sure your x and z coordinates are the same, -96 and -909. Now make sure you're facing in towards the center of the farm and begin to mine down. And break the block below you. Now break a 2 by 3 hole in the ground like this. And continue going down. Now once you're at this point, build up another 3 blocks. 1, 2, 3. And make a small tunnel. Like has been done here. Now just cover up this side, and finally cover up the top. There's no need to worry about putting wool. There's no need to worry about placing wool on this part of the build, since it'll only be... since the wardens will typically only be in here for a second. Perfect, now we have a small warden transportation pipe. Now you need to go inside of it and break these few blocks right here. And break these few blocks. I've built this a little too close to the corner, so we can't have a 3-block drop. But if you can, I highly recommend you do build a 3-block drop, so that the wardens have more room to get into the farm. But before we do that, you're going to want to place 4 trapdoors along the side of this drop-off, so that the wardens register these. This way the wardens will register the trapdoors as full blocks and fall through them. Now, as I was saying, what we do next is quite simple. We're going to place 6 blocks of water. Here, 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 and here, here, and here. So that it's an even pool. If you already have a tunnel for getting back down to the deep dark, great. If you don't, it's time to dig a tunnel back down to the deep dark. Now, if this has been done right, there should now be a giant trail of water coming through the 6x6 tunnel. Now, I highly recommend you build down from here and make a smaller tunnel so that the water doesn't completely flood the biome. Perfect. Now next you're going to want to mine out a 3x3 hole in one side. Now place blocks here and here, and put signs on the sides of those blocks to keep the water inside of the tunnel. The first thing you're going to want to do is break these 6 blocks in the water and replace them with soul sand. Next, you're either going to want a lot, and I mean a serious amount of kelp, or you're going to want 1 piece of kelp and a lot of bone meal. The bone meal option is going to be a little easier and won't require any water breathing potions, but if you're going to do it with just kelp, I recommend drinking a water breathing potion and building up like this. This build. Actually moving the wardens. I'm going to start by breaking this wool well shifted. Stay shifted this entire process. Stay crouching the whole time. Once the skulk sensor is exposed, you're going to want to make... Actually, don't stay shifted this entire time, because once the skulk sensor is exposed, the first thing you're going to want to do is make as much noise as possible. You're going to want to set it off 4 times, unless you have already set it off a few. You're going to want to set it off until a warden spawns. Typically that takes about 4 tries. That's 3. And 4. And 4. Now where's the big boy spawning? Right here. Okay. So now, very carefully, stay shifted the entire time. As soon as he comes out of the ground, you're going to want to put a name tag on him. Once you've done that, lure him into the tunnel with snowballs. Once you've gotten the warden into the tunnel, come to the top of the farm. Fire an arrow to this wall. You can add more You should add more wardens. I recommend adding 4, but no more than 5. Now I recommend building an AFK spot about 40 to 50 blocks below the farm. This doesn't have to be anything special. It can even just be a stone box like this. And you have it. The farm is working now. Now, if you've done everything right, the farm should be working. If you enjoyed, feel free to show your support. I appreciate it so much, especially as a newer creator, and I hope you enjoyed and found this helpful. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.